3, 2, 1.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's the Nittany No Huddle Podcast.
From Philadelphia to Los Angeles
And everywhere in between.
filmed at the Nittany No Huddle studio.
It's Jordo, Zach, and Coach Devin covering all things Penn State football all the time.
This is from 45 and it's blocked. Lions scoop it up. Brad Haley will score.
And here we go.
Welcome back to Nittany No Huddle Podcast. Today's episode, we're going to be covering a quick recap of the Ohio game. I know we touched on it a bit already, and then we're going to go straight into our pick-ems. This will probably be a pretty quick episode. Check back with us later in the week where we're going to cover the Auburn game in depth. We just want to get this one out, get our picks out there for the week, and kind of go from there. Before we start off, shout out to PSU Highlights on Instagram. They did a collaboration with us. Go check them out, give them a like and follow, and leave something in the comments from us as well. So right into the Ohio recap. I know we did our instant reaction, Zach. We were missing Coach Devin. He had other obligations at that time. So we kind of touched on everything, but I'm going to turn it over to Devin right away so he can go through kind of his reaction to the game and, you know, going back and reviewing the footage a second time, kind of what we thought, and then we'll go right into our pick'em. So Devin, go ahead and start us off with whatever topic you want to talk about with the Ohio game.
Yeah, so I'm going to start with quarterbacks. Pretty obvious that's kind of where I wanted to go. I thought Sean Clifford played really well. Obviously, I've kind of been out of the three of us, I'm the most ready to be done with Sean Clifford, but I thought he played really well. I can't remember the exact play, but it was one of his last two or three passes where he checked down from a receiver, went to his second look, wasn't there, hit Tyler Warren in the middle of the field, and it was clear that he was comfortable in the pocket, made a good read, went through his progressions like I just dissed on him last week that he never does. And I was just like laughing to myself watching the game like, oh, maybe he listened because he finally did it. He definitely didn't listen, but he definitely did what I was harping on him to do. And that touchdown pass, he is either the best quarterback I've ever seen, or he is so lucky because that safety had no idea where the ball was. But it worked out. It was a touchdown. It was a bullet of a pass, so it's what it needed to be. But I thought Clifford played really well, so that's my first takeaway. Second takeaway, Drew Allar is ready, I think. I kind of echo what you guys were saying, is at least we have a safe, secure option in a backup quarterback that we haven't had even dating back a couple years. So I think Drew Allar is ready. He looked the part, like Zach's mentioned in the 3 and out. A couple of design QB runs for a guy that's not like, he's a pocket passer, not a high school. If he can develop that and keep the arm strength that he has and the accuracy, I think he's going to be a problem in a couple of years for some Big Ten defenses. So I was really impressed with how he played. Vayu, or however you pronounce his name, which they kept saying it weird. They kept adding R's in there on the broadcast, which was weird, but maybe it's a Canadian thing. I don't know. But he actually looked okay too. Obviously he's going against Ohio's backups. At that point, they had pretty much taken out some of their defensive starters, but it's interesting that Franklin went with him over Prabula, which to me felt like, hey, we're trying to keep Vayu happy because we know he's leaving. I could be wrong, but that's how it felt like to me, because I think that they're pretty content to redshirt Prabula and keep him around and have him as Drew Allar's backup if he'll stay, and have some packages for him, because he is definitely a mobile quarterback compared to Drew Allar. So it might be interesting down the road to have that kind of 1-2 hit of Allar in the pocket and Prabula having a package, kind of like they did with Tommy Stevens and even Will Levis to an extent a few years back. So that's my comments on the quarterbacks. Should I keep going, or are we
we can just touch on the quarterbacks and everything. Yeah, I agree with a lot of what you're saying. My question for you is, do you think Drew Allar should be starting over Clifford or not? I guess is if you think Allar is ready to start, do you think we should bench Clifford for him?
I've kind of bought into what you guys have been saying as far as I want to see how this week goes. I think it comes down to this week. If we go into Auburn and win, which I know we're going to get into, so I'm not going to say too much about it. But if we go into Auburn and win, then yeah, we keep Clifford because we're going to be 5-0, and that going into the same situation that we're in every single year, where we're 5-0, and then playing. Well, who do we play week 6? Ohio State? Is that 6? Yeah, I couldn't remember if it was Michigan or Ohio State because it's always one of them.
Yeah.
So I don't think that Allar should be starting right now based on the way Clifford played on Saturday. But I think there's still a short leash on him to where if he struggles on Saturday at Jordan Hare, I'm totally fine with Drew Allar getting the start against Central Michigan into Northwestern, giving him 2 games to kind of get ready for Ohio State. I'm all for it. But if we go to Auburn and we win, which I think is a real possibility, then I'm fine with Clifford starting.
Yeah, I think that's kind of where we all kind of agree on, but I can tell you our fan base and the comment sections are not thinking that. I mean, I literally saw a comment on an Auburn podcast post saying, we do not, literally verbatim what it said, we do not stand a chance if Clifford is playing quarterback. Our only hope to win at Auburn is to start Drew Allar and play him the whole game. He doesn't make the bonehead plays that Clifford does. And my thought is just like, we've never even seen him in any type of, type of game where the game's on the line and he, has to force a throw. I know he came in against Purdue, but that was one drive and not enough.
And they had good play calling for him in that situation.
Yeah. And I mean, maybe that's part of it too. They have a different scheme they'll run for him, but like the sample size is just way too small, I guess, is my thing. So I think a lot of us agree that, hey, you start Clifford if he, for all intents and purposes, craps the bed against Auburn, then maybe we
unintended.
We go to Allar. So Zach, do you have anything to say on that or anything else?
I won't belabor it. I think you guys covered it really well. The one thing, as I'm sitting here listening to you guys speak pretty confidently about the Penn State quarterback room, maybe something that we haven't had that level of depth in a while. I'm sitting here wondering if at this time next year, of the 4 guys you just mentioned, is there only one of them still on the roster? And it's sort of neither here nor there, but it's something to keep in mind because, especially Vayu, because if Pribula, however it's pronounced, if he redshirts, he at least gets a year away from Allar. If Allar's a stud and he leaves after 3 years, Pribula has a chance to get to the field, playing field. If you're Vayu or Vayur, or however they're saying it now, I just feel like there's probably a strong chance, unless he just loves being a Penn Stater, he's probably in the portal next year. So he's good. I mean,
yeah, and they even said that. I forget who the field reporter was on Saturday, but he even said like, if IU enters the transfer portal, he's gonna be somebody that teams look out for. Probably not another like a Big Ten team or any Power 5. But somebody out there is going to get a steal with him if he does enter the portal, which I think that's a really good point, that out of the 4, do we only have 1 next year? And we're in a even worse situation than we were last year with Roberson as a backup.
Oh, you may have misunderstood. I meant all the young kids will transfer and Clifford gets back for 7th year.
Oh, he's gonna, oh my God.
Medical red shirt.
That Jordan Farson college plan.
Yeah. Anyways, moving on. So, Devin, do you have anything else you want to talk about for the game? I know
my second,
keep the recap, a little bit shorter today. So
yeah. So, my second thing was Nick Singleton. Obviously, I was super high on him in the preseason. I think you guys were kind of right there with me. He's that guy. I mean, he needs 15 carries a night. I don't care what anybody says. He needs 15 carries a game.
30.
Well, I don't know if he's ready for that, but I think Zach brought up a couple of really good points, and Jordan did in our group chat too, is those plays where he bounced outside. Is that going to be able to happen against Ohio State, Michigan State? I don't know. Probably not. I mean, he does have incredible speed and athleticism, but is it smart to bounce outside against those teams when lanes are open inside? I don't know. And maybe that's part of his development. And if he's only going to get 7 carries a game, that's
He's
hard
thinking
to
I gotta go to the house. So
right. And how is that development going to happen with only 7 carries? He's going to make, I mean, he's going to make mistakes because he's trying so hard to get the big play.
yeah,
I think of like Saquon early on. Zach has brought this up before. Like his first couple games, like he was trying so hard to make the big play to be impressive. And then as that year went on, it was more like I'm going between the tackles, I'm doing these types of things. So I'm interested to see how Singleton develops there because he's clearly the best running back on the team. I think Allen is second, but I think Singleton's the best running back on the team.
yeah, and I agree with what you're saying, and it's tough for a running back, especially a true freshman coming in, to have to be battling your depth chart, the coaches, the scheme, as well as the other side of the field. So
Yeah.
I would like them to just come out and say, hey, Singleton's our guy. We're starting him. He's going to get the majority of our carries. It's a battle 2 through 4 behind him.
Agreed.
Give him that confidence. Like, you're going to be that guy. Be patient when you're running, because that's what it really comes down to is he is forcing those plays, and he made some great plays. And maybe that's what he needed to just, solidify him in the depth chart. But it would be nice to see him kind of like be a little more patient and be that, every down back there and just, getting those 5 to 7 yards every time he touches the ball right up the gut, But we'll see how it progresses. I know we'll cover this in the Auburn. I think we have a chance for some big rushing yards against Auburn as well. So I hope they utilize him correctly. Zach, do you want to touch anything on the running backs real quick?
Yeah, and one thing when Devin was all over it, I guess referencing my own comments, but for me, it's like let's get some things designed to get Singleton into space, right? The screens, tosses. Yeah. We haven't really showed, and maybe again, it's early in the season. Maybe they got some stuff, in play that they want to bust out for Auburn, but we haven't really seen a lot of designed plays to get Allen or Singleton out on the outside. There's been a few like sweep type pulling guard plays. Actually, one of Singleton's 70-yard touchdown, to be fair, was a sort of a designed sweep out of the backfield with a pulling guard. But I think you got to make it a point of priority with the offense is to get those guys the ball, not just say we want Singleton to touch the ball 20 times, but to scheme up a way to get him the ball in the most opportune situations to use his skill set.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what we hit on during our, instant recap. So I know going back and looking at the film again, like we're kind of all on the same page there. So I think that's going to wrap up the Ohio game, unless you had anything else you want to talk on, Devin.
The only other thing I was going to say, and it'll be super brief, is I'm way more concerned about the kicking game than you guys were. I don't know anything about Jake Pinniger as a person, but he's going to cost us a game the way he looked on Saturday. And it wasn't just that he missed an extra point, because that happens. Stuff happens. It was how he did not look confident kicking any of the extra points earlier before he missed that one.
And the field goal. His first field goal, I was like, I even texted you guys. I was like, he looks like he wants no part of this game right now. And I'm like, if you don't want to be part of a noon game against Ohio U, how's it gonna fare when we go down to Auburn this weekend or on the road against Ohio State in the shoe,
Right. So that's just, I think that's a little more of a concern for me than some people are saying. I hope I'm wrong, but I think that's we've been spoiled the last 3 to 5 years with really good place kickers. And I'm a little nervous. I mean, he lost this job last year for a reason. So a little nervous, but that's all I have to say.
I stand corrected. I forgot we're not on the road against Ohio. So
I'll say as far as my final thoughts go, and I feel one of the things we do a good job here is not just sort of blowing sunshine about our team, but we try to take a critical look at it on a week when you could have been a Texas A&M, when you could have been a Notre Dame, you could be in Nebraska. There's nothing wrong with the 46-10 win over Ohio. Again, there's a lot that you can take away that we need to work on. We got to improve. There could be a number of losses on the horizon. By no means is I think we say at this point that Penn State's an elite team, but a hard-nosed, gritty win on the road against a Big Ten team, and then come home in what's definitely sort of fits into that trap game definition between the Purdue game and before the Auburn game, a team that basically took care of business from start to finish. I think you got to be happy with that no matter what.
Yeah, and I kind of echoed that same thing. Is Penn State an elite team? No, but could they be a top 10 team? Well, let's find out because we're gonna do our top 10s right now. So
Great segue.
I'm gonna go last this week. I went first last week, so we're gonna go reverse order. So we'll go Devin first, then Zach, and then myself.
All right, so my top 10. I have number 1, Georgia. I think that's pretty obvious. Far and away the best team in the nation. Second, I have Ohio State. I'm way more confused about Ohio State now after Notre Dame lost to Marshall. But I still think that at the end of the day, Ohio State's going to be 11-1 or 12-0. So it doesn't really matter. 3, I have Michigan. I moved Michigan up to 3. Yes, they played Hawaii. And yes, they should have won by 200 points, and they really, really backed it off. But I think Michigan has some really good pieces. 4, I moved Bama down to 4. Horns down, always horns down. 5, USC. I think that Jordan Addison is a huge part of their offense, the Pitt transfer that kind of gets overlooked because of the quarterback and the head coach and all that stuff. But Jordan Addison transferring out there is a big deal. 6, I have Oklahoma, the team that USC poached from. 7, Oklahoma State. So go Cowboys. 8, moved BYU up with their big win over Baylor. I still think Baylor's a pretty solid team. I would have them right around like 15th or so in my rankings where I have them. So I moved BYU up to 8, even though I don't know if they're the 8th best team in the nation. Clemson, I still have at 9. Someone has to win the ACC. And Kentucky beating Florida. Will Levis playing pretty well. Put them at number 10. So that's my top 10.
Yeah, I don't really have any complaints. I feel like that's
No
pretty
super hot takes in there or anything.
Nah, it's pretty generic top 10 kind of. But hey, we can't all have hot takes every week.
Correct.
So Zach, you want to go ahead and hit us with your top 10?
Sure. And I really don't have many hot takes either. Largely the same teams as Devin, just perhaps in a little bit different order. Clearly, number 1, Georgia. I feel like after that, I want to start the remainder of the poll at like number 5 or something. Like everybody's, Michigan hasn't played anybody, Ohio State, Bama. So I'm going to go Georgia 1, Bama 2, Ohio State 3, Michigan 4. Don't feel good about much of it. I think we kind of need to wait and see. Maybe there's a chance Texas is back, and maybe that Bama game doesn't look too bad for them down the line. But I think there were some flaws that Bama showed that if you're a Bama fan, you're thinking, man, we really couldn't run the ball that well. If Texas's starting quarterback doesn't get hurt, does that game end a different way? Maybe. Ohio State, same thing. The Notre Dame game, that the shine completely came off of that. I still think there's so much offensive talent for Ohio State that they're going to be there at the end probably. Michigan, same thing. We don't know a whole lot about them other than we know they love to beat up on the bad teams, and that's great, but it's not going to be that way forever. I've actually got Oklahoma number 5. I said it last week. I think there's a chance they can actually maybe sort of take a next step with Brent Venables in the coming years, where they're actually building a complete team, as opposed to number 6, USC, the offensive juggernaut that I think maybe doesn't quite have what it takes on defense to be a top end team this year, but in the Pac-12, absolutely could see them going 12-0 with the talent they have on the offensive side of the ball. It's definitely a possibility. And even if that conference ends up being pretty bad, 12-0, win the Pac-12 title, you're in the playoffs. There's a chance for them. I got Arkansas at number 7. I know there's some differing opinions maybe inside this channel on Arkansas. I think open the season with wins over Cincinnati and South Carolina. Neither of those are going to blow you away, but those are 2 competent teams that they looked really well. Clearly they can run the ball. KJ Jefferson has looked pretty good passing the ball too. That's a balanced team. I've got Oklahoma State at number 8. Not 100% sold on them yet. Part of it's just with all these upsets that somebody's got to fill the void. I've got Kentucky at number 9, huge win at Florida. They still seem a little offensively challenged. I don't think they quite have enough to challenge Georgia in the SEC East, but nonetheless, for that program, a huge win in Gainesville. I think I saw it was the first time they'd beaten Florida back-to-back since like the early 70s or something. So Mark Stoops definitely has them on the rise. We'll see if he's a name at Nebraska. And then I've got at number 10, BYU. I think BYU has a chance to do some special things this year. We may be talking about them in a little bit. They've got a pretty big game on the road this week, so maybe for me they'll be in and then out if they can't take care of business. But that's my top 10.
Yeah, I mean, I like you were saying, pretty standard. I know you're high on Arkansas, which I'm not, but we'll see how the season works out. So before I start my top 10, I'm gonna put a disclaimer out there. If you don't agree with my top 10 or think I'm on drugs or something like that, make sure to like and subscribe to our video so you can roast me in the comments.
We want to hear about it in the comments section.
Yeah, absolutely. So give me 1 sec to pull up my top 10 here. Sorry, I was taking a phone call apparently. So number 1, Georgia. Everybody's got Georgia in the top spot. Until we see a flaw, they're going to continue to be there. Number 2, I'm going with Michigan. I know they haven't beat anybody, but they look very complete right now. And I just don't see a flaw with them other than maybe creating drama with 2 quarterbacks for no reason. But we'll see. 3, I'm going to echo a little bit what you guys said. I think Oklahoma could be the 3rd best team in the country right now. They haven't really shown any huge weakness, in my opinion. And it looks like they're actually building a defense there, which is unheard of in Big 12 play. So moving on, USC. I think they're 4th for me right now. They look pretty good. Their defense is not there, obviously, but they have good coaching, good quarterback play, and a great receiver who will probably go in the top 20 of the draft. So I have USC at 4. 5, this is going to come to a shock, but I think Michigan State could be the 5th best team in the country. I don't really see anybody behind them being able to easily beat Michigan State. 6, BYU. I was really impressed with their win. I'm still high on Baylor. Like Devin was saying, I probably have them 15th best team in the country, in all honesty, even with that loss at BYU, on the road. But BYU looked really good as well. 7, someone's got to win the ACC, so I'm going to throw Clemson in there for now. Hopefully, I get proven wrong on Clemson, but I think they're going to probably lose a game in conference play and not make the playoffs. So I have them at 7. 8, I'm going with Kentucky. Will Levis looks very complete. He could very easily be the best quarterback in this draft class. I know we were talking about that today in our group chat. But Kentucky, they took care of Florida. I don't really know how good the SEC East is, but I guess we'll find out moving forward. Number 9, I'm going with Penn State. So I may take some homer flack for this, but based on what I saw this weekend, I think we could beat anybody from 10 and back. So that's kind of why I put them there. And then 10, I'm definitely going to get roasted for this one. I'm putting Marshall there. I just think Ohio State and Alabama are not good this year, and I could see them each losing 2 games. So I have them out of my top 10. I'm putting Marshall up there. They took care of business against Notre Dame. Go ahead and roast me, guys. What do you want to say about it? At least I didn't pick a team because of their t-shirt this week. So got that going for me.
My only question is, who did Marshall play before they played Notre Dame?
No clue.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Who'd they play?
I don't know. They're Marshall.
Well, and I think the bigger issue is I think there's a chance Notre Dame's just not good. And I defended them after the week 1 loss to Ohio State. And it's tough when there's just not enough data points. We have 2 for most teams. We have 2 data points right now, and that's just not a lot. But and if you're Marcus Freeman, so they lost the bowl game last year after Brian Kelly left. He coached that. They opened up with Ohio State. They lost that, and it's defensible. Lose the home opener against Marshall. That's not quite as defensible. I'm not sure who they play this week, but I know the following week they have a road game at North Carolina, who doesn't appear to have any interest in playing defense, but that seems like a game that could also be a loss from Notre Dame. All of a sudden, the honeymoon for Freeman could be over pretty quickly.
Good thing you got that big buyout clause, right? Yeah, I mean, who knows? Like, this was just like a great college football weekend, and it's been a while since I've seen this much, diversity in week 2. Like, usually you have 1 or 2 upsets, but to see, good teams struggle with unranked teams is, to have that all in 1 week is kind of crazy. So I I think that kind of wraps up our top 10. Do you guys have anything else to say?
Nope.
I'll just say that this week is indicative of why I think there shouldn't even be polls until at least like week 4 or 5, because you don't know. I mean, Texas A&M comes in with the number 1 recruiting class. Are they a top 10 team? Maybe. Should they not even be in the top 25? Maybe. I don't know. We'll have to find out, but it's like you don't really know anything this early in the season.
Yeah. You don't know. But somehow Texas A&M gets a pass and gets to be still top 25 ranked, even though they lost to Appalachian State. So, and I know people are like, oh, they joined Michigan. That Michigan lost to Appalachian State is uncomparable, because you're talking about like a team that was favored to win the BCS versus a team that wasn't even in, the FBS at that point. So, Appalachian State has kind of moved up into that next level. So this isn't your daddy's Appalachian State. That's all I'll say. But that's all I got for today.
Yep.
So glad to see some SEC teams losing. Makes me happy. Gives me joy. So go Big Ten. That wraps up the top 10s. What do you got for us for pick'ems this week, Zach?
So I'll run through the pick'ems real quick. I got what I think are the 5 best games of the week. We'll start with number 12, BYU, who we just talked about a good deal. At number 25, Oregon. I'm going BYU.
BYU.
Yep. Across the board.
We got 3 BYUs. Second game of the week. I think this may actually be the ABC primetime game. Number 11, Michigan State at Washington.
Sparty party.
Yeah, I got Sparty.
I got Sparty and BYU 5 and 6. Are you out of your damn mind? Like,
I said it earlier. I said it a couple times. I think Michigan State might be a fraud, and we'll find out. I'm going Washington.
No, got to be different.
Got to be. I think I'm losing already. Pretty handily.
Yeah, do we have the?
We gotta catch
our
up.
stats on who's winning and losing right now?
We'll put them up on the screen right here.
All right, we'll go back and add those. I honestly didn't do my homework.
Yeah.
Third game.
55 of our podcasters can be really upset.
So the third game of the week, and I think the only other one that has 2 ranked teams, number 13, Miami, at number 24, Texas A&M. Start with Jordan. The U. Devin?
I got A&M by 14.
I think this is a huge game for the what I like to call the dead cat bounce, and I think we're going to see that from Texas A&M. They're going to bounce back. I don't buy anybody in the ACC at this point, so
Correct.
I need to see it from Miami before I pick them.
Yeah, I just like the U. Who doesn't?
Number 4 game. I think this is a sort of an under the radar game. Texas Tech at number 16, NC State.
I'm going. Never stick me with a sorry ass receiver. Michael Crabtrees, we're going Texas Tech. Let's go. Red Raider Nation.
Coach
They're
Devin?
They're gonna lock him in an equipment room and not let him out. That's what's gonna happen.
Yeah, I have Texas Tech too. Jaron Bradley is gonna have a big game. NC State's super overrated. Probably the most overrated team.
So we got a clean sweep of the road dog winning in this one. 'Cause I'm going to go Texas Tech. I think they had a really good under the radar win last weekend against a ranked Houston team. And like everybody else has said repeatedly, I don't trust the ACC, so I need to see it from NC State. That leaves us with the final game of the week. We're going to go Mississippi State at LSU.
I'm going to pick whoever Jordan doesn't pick.
Initial gut is I love me some Mississippi State. But I don't see Brian Kelly losing at home. I just don't. Against my better judgment, I'm going to go LSU.
I'll take Mississippi State then.
Ooh. Mike Leach, to reference Jordan's comment about kids getting locked in sheds at practice. I'm going to go LSU just because I hope I'm wrong and they lose and Brian Kelly starts out 1-2 and we see him kill a reporter. I think
last week.
This is a home game. If you're Brian Kelly, it's crazy to think about stakes at some of these schools, but they're 1-1. This almost feels like a must-win game for Brian Kelly this season. Because it's just Mississippi State. They still got Alabama, Texas A&M, Auburn, Ole Miss, Arkansas. The SEC West, as much as we like to bash on the SEC, it's loaded. So you lose this one, if you're LSU, all of a sudden you're looking at Brian Kelly and like, are we going to go to a bowl game this year? So I've got LSU though.
So I took 4 road teams out of those 5 games.
I think there's a chance that there could be 5 really good games there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it could come down to the last couple minutes, to be honest. So like you said, if it honestly does feel like a must win for Brian Kelly, but at the same time, is Notre Dame like, well, you have a home back here if it doesn't work out at LSU? Like, yeah, we may need Lou Holtz to, write a letter to the old ball coach and bring him back. So.
As long as the guy on Pat McAfee's podcast does another impression, then keep
we're golden. Yeah. Oh man, but yeah, I mean it's kind of crazy how these teams, and I know we've talked about it before, but specifically LSU, like, winning a national title doesn't even buy your job security. Like, meanwhile, Penn State is like, please, like,
don't leave us for
$10 million
per year.
Yeah,
per year.
It's wild. It's crazy, but I mean, yeah. If things don't go well with Franklin, maybe we can get Ed Orgeron up here,
Or Brian Kelly.
Yeah.
Scott Frost is available.
Coach O and the Beaver. Yeah, Scott Frost is available. First coach fired of the Power Fives, and
yeah, I know it's a little off topic for us, but for those folks that are listening that haven't followed the Nebraska story or Scott Frost, they fired Scott Frost yesterday.
Yes.
If they had waited 3 weeks, they would have saved $7.5 million. The situation is so bad that they paid $7.5 million instead of waiting 3 weeks to get rid of him.
Yeah.
Gotta do what you gotta do.
The only thing I can think of is they're just advertising to their next coach that's going to fail, that no matter what, even when you inevitably fail, we'll take care of you and give you more of a buyout than we necessarily have to.
Hey, I mean, it could be worse. You could have, Bo Pelini still there. So
what a shame that would be.
Yeah. 9-3, have a chance to, go to the Rose Bowl every other year, maybe. But that's kind of where we're at too. So I can't really, say much. But hopefully, he lands on his feet somewhere. Just not.
I think it would be not to extend this one out, but I think it would be really good for the Big Ten if Nebraska, I think their glory days are gone, but I think they can be a more than competent team in the West. And I think the Big Ten, they may be scrapping the divisions once USC and UCLA join, but when Nebraska came in the league, when they went to the geography-based divisions, the Big Ten kind of hitched their wagon to Nebraska getting back to a fairly dominant level, because you've seen it for years. The East and West are so imbalanced. If Nebraska ever got back to even close to their old level, I think it would actually really help the Big Ten, but I'm not holding my breath on it.
Yeah. People forget Nebraska, they won the Big Ten West their first year in there.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then lost to Wisconsin.
Lost to Scon.
Here's a trivia question for folks. What place did Wisconsin finish in their division that year in 2012? I'm sorry, 2012.
I don't know.
No clue.
Put it in the comments. I'm going to guess second or third.
Want me to answer it?
Sure. Why not?
Third place. 2012, Ohio State went 12-0. Braxton Miller was a quarterback. They were sanctioned because of the tattoo gate, Terrell Pryor. So they didn't go to a bowl. They couldn't go to the conference title game or a bowl game. Penn State, in the first year of the Bill O'Brien era, despite losing to Ohio and Virginia, finished second in the division. Big. I think they beat Wisconsin. It was at home, and I think it was in overtime, and there was a walk-off field goal. So Wisconsin actually finished third in their division. I forget if it was Legends or Leaders back then. Went to the conference title game.
We are part of the Legends somehow.
Yeah. So then I guess we were in the same division as Wisconsin, whichever it was. They finished third in their division, got to go to the Big Ten conference title game where they beat Nebraska, and then got to go to the Rose Bowl, despite finishing third in their own division.
And Michigan finished behind Michigan State, but Michigan State lost in the Big Ten title or something, right? Wasn't that 2012? That might have been 2011 when Michigan went to the Sugar Bowl instead of Michigan State, because Michigan State lost in the Big Ten title game.
Yeah. Now you're making me doubt myself. I'm pretty sure 2012 was Wisconsin, Nebraska, but
you might be right.
We'll look it up.
Thanks for watching the Nittany No Huddle podcast.
Check us out on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook.
Podcasts are posted weekly on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Make sure to like and subscribe so you never miss one of our new shows.